Okay, welcome back. This is part 7 of our painting a character tutorial, and in this part I'm going to be doing the specular map. So let's just get right into it. And I think the first thing I'm going to attempt here is to right click this, and I'm going to say duplicate merge visible. And what that should do is create a copy of all the layers and flatten them all together into one layer. And let's just call this spec base. And now I'm going to move this, move selected to. I know it's off the screen, but I'm moving it to specular here. And the first thing I'm going to do is adjust the color on this guy and desaturate that. Hit OK. And the next thing I'm going to do is adjust the color again, and I'm just going to bring it down to much darker in all cases. Now these are all the tones and whatnot are there, but I've toned it down quite a bit, and that's kind of what I want for the majority of this guy. And I'm going to take a couple other things here, like the eyes. Just going to solo that layer, hold Alt. Going to get his tooth, his nose, and that should cover the whiskers too. And I think that's all I want for this layer. And I'm going to do the same, duplicate merge visible, and move that to the specular channel. Put it on top. And I'm going to adjust color here, desaturate it, and make it basically white. So now those things are shiny. Let's get his lips. And duplicate that. Just pull that down and adjust the color on that. I don't really need to desaturate it because it was gray, but I'm going to pop it up so it's brighter. Okay, let's show our diffuse layer so we can see what's going on here. We're going to take our fur blends and dupe that. And move that down. Desaturate it. And darken it some. Let's get his belt. Duplicate. And I'll just move it to specular. Saves me having to drag it down and wait. Put that up. Adjust the color on that guy. I know that went off the screen, but I just went down to adjust color, and then give that some shininess, not 100%. Okay, let's show our bump and normal. Let's get the soles of his boots, because that's a rubber. And we'll dupe that. And move that to specular. Put that at the top. Adjust color. Get some shininess on those. Let's get his boots themselves. Dupe it. Move it to specular. put that below the sole. And adjust the color there. So I actually think the color might be pretty good. Let's go about 3. Get a little bit of shine on those guys. Cloth itself I don't want too much. The tail I want to be pretty toned back. So I think that's good for our base. I'm not going to make his ears shiny. I just got his lips and his tooth, and his nose, and his eyes. Everything else pretty toned back. Alright, now let's make a new layer here. We'll call it Sweat Spots. Ew. Paint with black. Actually, sorry, I'm going to paint with white. I want this to be shinier. Alright, let's adjust our brush. A pretty low strength, minimum strength and minimum size. Let's keep the minimum size about 30. We want it. And then let's just kind of give them some sweat there. Actually, let's do this. This will be easier to see. Let's put it in the diffuse. You can see that that's just going to come in white, and I'll just adjust the color on that to black. That was my original plan, actually. Just make sure we're painting with black. Okay. So just kind of blend that a little bit. Make sure I'm on my high-res model so I'm not getting any weird geometry cuts or anything. Let's get a bigger brush. Okay, let's go down his back. I can't go too big of a brush doing that. You can see that it's not really wanting to paint very well there at all. Maybe actually this might work better on the lower res version. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit, not totally better. I'm still getting some stuff, but the blur tool might solve a lot of this. I'm going to blur it a lot. There we go. That's pretty good. And let's go ahead and blur this here too. It's probably too much for that. Just scrub that whole thing. Okay. So there's some sweat. Let's get some down his chest a little bit. And all up in his collar. And then blur that. I'm not going to do his butt. This is kind of gross. But I'll do a little bit like that. Up his back, just a bit. And maybe a little bit there, where it's ran down his back. And then blur it. Alright, so I'm going to dupe this. And then I'm going to move that to specular. And pop that at the top. Actually, I'm going to put that behind the belt and the fur blends. Okay. And I'm going to adjust color on it. And make it white so it's very shiny. And then on the main layer here, I'm going to change this to overlay. So it gets kind of gross, but I'm gonna tone that down just a little bit, and so it darkens that up some. And let's actually go ahead and adjust color on this one more time, and let's not make it so shiny. Am I on the wrong layer? Yeah, I am. Yeah, like that. So now he's sweaty and grody. Alright, that's actually pretty much all I really need to do for that. There isn't really too much I need to do otherwise, but what I do want to do is give myself a dirt layer. And for dirt, I have a very specific method of doing my dirt. It's pretty simple. I use a tan, which is desaturated orange, and let's make it a little bit darker like that, roughly there. I'm using this stamp here, which is black and white dirt one. I'm not going to pull it over so you can see the name or anything. It looks like this. It's a default one. I'm going to randomize it. Give myself a decent amount of spacing, about 50. About 15 or so, 25, somewhere around there, 20. On the strength. And I'm going to be pretty broad with this. Let's give myself a little bit more strength. Oh, fall off, you want to be sharp. Let's get it put on here. So just kind of a light bit of dusting, and then I'm going to shrink my brush and come in a lot more here at the soles. He's been trucking through the mud. He's been training hard, marching, humping. I mean moving, you know, walking. There's no reason why his boots would get dirty if your mind was dirty. And yeah, just for giggles, I'll just kind of a little bit of dirt over the rest of them. Not a lot, not too noticeable. That might be a little too noticeable. Just tone that back. I'm going to avoid the centerline seam altogether because I have a feeling that it's going to give me, well, it's actually not too bad. Put a little dirt on his sweat spots. On his sleeves a little bit. And make his nose a little dirty. That's really about all the amount of dirt that I really want. We can do a little on his hands, but it's not going to really show up too much. It's just going to serve to make his skin a little browner. Mainly it's going to be his boots. Let's give ourselves a bit of a darker color, a little bit more saturated, so act as a little bit of mud. I don't think this is painting at all, is it? It's because I popped my strength down too much. So a little bit of mud, mostly near the bottom. Let's get the bottoms here. Let's go much darker and just break this up a little bit. Almost removing the dirt in a sense because it's getting a little bit closer to the boot tone. Alright, so he's filthy, and now what we're going to do is dupe that. And move that to the specular channel. pull it up to the top. This goes over everything. And adjust our color. Pull our saturation down. And our value all the way down. That breaks everything up. The dirt actually shows up a little bit better. And dirt tends to not be all that shiny. Okie doke. That's looking pretty good. Now, there is another thing I want to do, and that is to put a little bit of texture in the shirt and the shorts. Now, let's see if I got a good stencil for that. I really don't want to use this cheesecloth, because that's, I think, is a little too strong. But let's see what happens if I do use it. I just did it on that layer just to see what's going on. It's a little bit strong. Let's see if I do it tighter. Yeah, it's not too bad, but I'm not sure I like that texture. I don't know what else I have. I have kind of a carbon fiber. I want to use tiles on this. Let's get that small. Let's actually go ahead and just make our new layer. And we will call this cloth texture. Let's see what we're looking at. Yeah, it's not too bad. So what I'm going to do though is move that to the bump map, because I do want to. Where is my bump map? And then move that to the top. Actually, let's make sure that it's above the shirt, but behind everything else. I think I forgot to undo one level. I did. So let me go back a little bit. Undo. 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 Until this disappears off that layer. Let's see what happens if I redo. Okay, there I'm at the right spot. So I'll just make a new layer here. Cloth texture. And hit Q, and let's just go ahead and, I know, you know, carbon fiber, that's not the right texture or anything, but really I just want, it's not actually officially carbon fiber in a sense, it's just kind of bumps. Just make sure I don't try to maintain an even size, an even dispersal here. This does get a little tricky when you go to blend it. But it'll be okay because this is going to get toned way back. Alright, let's turn it to the side so we can do the sleeves. Really doesn't matter which way it's facing, because it's pretty much a symmetrical. I don't want to do that yet. Get that part. Let's get the sleeve. I'm hitting the rest of the model like on accident, but I'm not worried about it. I had to pretty much go back and fix it anyway. Alright, let's get his shorts. This is going to be a little bit more difficult. Shrink that down because I had to zoom away from the model. So I'm going to go to about there and then turn it, and then go like that, and then turn it, and go like that, and then turn it. So I'm slightly following the direction of his body. Let's follow that direction again a little bit. Okay, in this case, I really want to hide the other side so I can hit in here. Oops, wrong tool. Hit 2. Let's page up so we can get higher res. It can be kind of hard to see where you missed what the stamp's showing. Hit V to get that tool. Just hide the rest of this. Oh god, I hate when I do that. Okay, hit H. Kind of follow the wrinkle line there a little bit. I think I missed here. Alright, not perfect or nothing. Hit U, bring everything back. And now all I gotta do is just tone that way down. Let's go 5. Real subtle. Just a little bit something there. Okay. Actually, before I do that, let's make it 100%. Let's Alt-T here. And let's find where we went too far and erase it. This page up. Actually, Shift D. Oh no. I screwed that up. Alt T, A page up. And then Alt T, A. For some reason my eraser tool is not. It's not working. Paint, erase, cloth texture. Did I make a duplicate? What am I looking at here? Oh, I got the frickin' stamp on. Here we go. Yeah, I was showing the stamp there. That was a problem there. All right, and I'll just hit these other parts just in case. Maybe a little hard to determine in some places what I did and didn't overlap an accident. I know I hit the belt. Which I don't want. I don't want that on there at all. There's one thing I actually want to do here real quick. Make a new layer, call this shadow. Might as well take care of it while I'm staring at the piece. Hit 1, come with black, no stamp, full strength, spacing. And I want to do the same thing in the specular. I'll just put it in the dirt layer. I don't really need a new layer for that. Okay. And what that did was made the inside of the shirt. Okay, so the arms here have that bump on there. Which is right here. On the legs here too. Gotta kind of turn my camera to see if I can notice it on anything where it shouldn't be. I think we're good. And now I can make this 5%. And I can run a dupe. And move that to the specular channel. Pop it up to the top. Actually below the dirt. And let's see what happens if I boost it up. And then hide it. Gives a little bit of shine to it, but I don't want it that strong. And go roughly like that. Okay. And then last fix before we export. I think, hopefully last fix. Is just going to call this neck fur. You can see that it's starting to take a little while to process some of this stuff, so as we get more textures in. If that starts becoming a problem, you may want to start duplicating some of these and combining them. You could save out a backup of this just by simply right clicking and saying export to PSD and just call it like backup or something in case you wanted to have access to those layers again. In this case I'm going to deal with it. So neck fur is the layer I want. And let's get back on our fur stencil. And if you ever lose, let's see, let me show you something here real quick. Let's put this off the screen way up there and you're like, where's my stencil? I don't know where it is. One of the ways to get it back, because like it won't recenter itself until you reopen Mudbox, is to use tiles and then hold S and rotate and try to find the center of rotation, which you can see is this one here. And now when I undo the use tiles, there it is. Okay, that's kind of one of the only ways to really do that. Alright. So what I'm going to do here is pull in the fur onto the neckline here. And then I'm going to come in closer and now I'm going to activate my stamp. Make this fur a little bit bigger, try to match the direction. And just let it bleed a little bit over the shirt. So it's kind of like, you know, sticking out from his shirt. Let's do it a little bit more exaggerated. Alright, so now it looks like he's wearing like a real shirt. And what I'll do is I'll dupe it. And then move that over to the bump. Come on, bump, bump. And pull it to the top. Wait, I think I went too far. There we go. You can see that went crazy, so it's going to tone that down. I'm actually going to do it a little bit more than 10, 17 or so. And I'm going to dupe that again. And put it at the top of the specular channel. And desaturate that and pull it down. Actually, I need to desaturate it in the bump. And let's pager down. And I think I'm pretty good, to be honest. I'm going to go ahead and call this. I may make an amendum, I may not, where I fix some of these things like this, where the UVs are just screwed. It's just an oversight on my part. I didn't really tend to that piece as well as I should have. And it is going to kind of require a rebaking of the normals. I may actually do that too, to see if I can't get rid of some of this weird warping. And if that works out, then that would be a lot better. But in this case, we're done with the painting. So we're going to save the scene, let that run through its rigmarole, and I'm done with my pen tablet, so you can hear that click. Okay, so move that to the side. We'll go back to our mouse, and let's get these textures out of here. So right click, export channel to PSD. That's the old file. So we'll go to recruit, and we're going to call this recruit diff. Save that. That should pop that open in Photoshop. Darcy Blues. And then scroll down here, right click that and export that to PSD, and just going to replace diff with spec. I'm not sure why I'm getting a U2 V1. I don't need it, I know that. And then we'll go back to Mudbox. Because if I look at my UV view, there shouldn't be anything in the other tile. Unless I crossed over the line. No, well, let's just get the bump, see what we get. Export channel to PSD. Okay, so this was something that I had done that was old, back on the sculpted version. So no big deal. You can see the specular channel did not create a U2 V1, so I'm just going to make a bump. And that'll pop open in Photoshop. Go back here. And actually, I forgot something. Masks don't come through in Photoshop. So what you need to do is temporarily merge them. And you can do that by isolating the layer and then doing a merge visible. And now I can export the channel to PSD. Hello? Let me pause it, see what's going on. Okay, I just needed to click the screen, that's all. I didn't want it to crash. Okay, recruit bump. I'll just save over that, yes, replace. Bloops in my ear, and go ahead and update that. You can see that the mask now works. And then we can come back here and actually undo to see if I had any other layers that were masked. I don't think so. But the normal map does have one. So I will just right click that and merge visible. It's the only layer there, so I'm not worried about it. Actually, you can merge mask layer. I never noticed that. Merge mask layers right there. That's cool. And now I can just export this channel. I have this as a texture already, but because I painted that part out, I do want to go ahead and save it. So if okay, yeah, for some reason it's lagging on me. And I'm just going to call this norm. Save. Alright. Hit Control Z, get the mask back. Okay, close. You can see, okay. Yeah, that's the old normal map showing up on the other UV tile, but I don't need it. And what I'm going to do is close these, show them. And save my scene one last time. And close Mudbox in order to free up some memory. Okay. So, let's see if this is our stencil that we worked on. We don't need that anymore. Let's work on our diffuse layer first. Go ahead and pull this up. Okay, so we hide the top base mesh. Let's pick a color for our background. We need to unlock this layer. Let's just pick something from the fur, and Alt backspace will fill that in. And then what we need to do is create our bleed. So we're going to select the layer before the background, all the way up to the very last layer. Control Alt and E will make a dupe of that. Then we go filter, blur, Gaussian blur of 8. Okay, and then we're going to make a duplicate and another duplicate, and then hold Shift and click the name, and then Control E to merge them. I'll just double click that, and we'll call this bleed. And now we want to drag that below all our other layers. Okay, so then those tones will bleed out. So any mid-mapping or lower resolutioning of anything will be okay. Alright, let's check our specular level layer here. We need to hide our wireframe. We need to fill black. Hit D and then Alt backspace. Alt backspace. And then we can just go to channels and Control click the thumbnail for this, for the RGB. Hit M for your marquee tool and just grab some white and drag that up to the name and then bring it back, still holding it. Hold Shift, then let go of mouse. We can ditch this alpha channel and then apply a new one. You can see there's our alpha channel. Control Shift S. Let's go and put this in UDK. I do believe I have a recruit folder. Let's make a new layer called recruit textures. We'll keep it recruit diff, TGA, alpha channels are checked, 32-bit. Okay, we are going to save this Photoshop file, close it. We didn't do anything to this one, so we don't need to save it. We filled in with black, but it's not something that we'll forget later. Okay, here's our normal map, and here's our bump map. So we can right click and show hide all other layers and do that twice, and I'll get everything back. Okay, let's Control Alt 0 to get to 100%. Our fur actually needs desaturating. Control Shift and U. Our cloth might be a little too light. It may be showing up stronger in Mudbox than it would be here, but we'll give it a shot. So we're going to select all of our layers minus the base mesh layer. Control Alt E to make a copy in case we need to go back. Filter X normal, again this is free, find it online, easy enough. And just hit continue. I keep everything default. Let's see if, yeah, there is detail there. I really hate that when you zoom in on Photoshop it splits it into pixels and puts white lines at the split of the pixels. Like what? Why? Why would anybody want that? And I haven't been able to find a way to shut that off. So if you know how to shut that off, please, please, please tell me. Okay, so recruit textures. This is just going to be recruit. Oh wait, actually, I forgot. I gotta combine it. So let's get this and take this new layer and we'll drag it up here. Hold Shift, let it go. Now we need a copy of this, and we go to our channels, and on our blue channel we're going to fill with 60% gray, not 50. Okay, go back to RGB, go to layers, hide that layer, select the next layer, go back to channels, go to the green layer, fill with white, just control backspace because white is my background color. Go to the red channel, control backspace, okay, re-highlight RGB, go back to layers, show them both. This first one is going to be overlay, and the next one is going to be multiply. Just for reference sake, Alt and Shift when you have a layer selected, if I do like Y, it turns to luminosity, M is multiply, B is burn, K is darken, O is overlay. Okay, it's got all hotkeys. They're not all named by the first letter, but most of them are. So just Alt Shift. Be warned though that if you are on like the paintbrush tool, that it'll do that to this list and not over here. Okay, so you want to be on the move tool, and it beeped at me because I didn't have focus on the layer. So now if I come in, Control Alt 0, and I zoom in, that extra normal map stuff is combined with my sculpt map. So if I hide these, you can see that goes away. If I show it, it comes back. Okay, that's how you combine them. One, you need two copies, one overlay with the channels filled. The channels aren't showing up properly here because they're now at overlay, but if I only show this channel here is filled with 60% gray in the blue for your overlay, so that doesn't combine. And then when you do this one, your red and green are filled with white, and this was set to multiply. Okay, that's all we need. Control Shift S. We want a TGA, recent places to our recruit, and this is going to be recruit NM alpha channels. 24-bit because I don't have an alpha channel. Doesn't matter that I had the other alpha channel selected, and I am going to save that. And I'm going to save that, and now we can open UDK. Okay, so here we are in UDK. I never saved what I did last time, but here's the, I just re-imported him right now from the ASC. He's actually going to be, you know, a skeletal mesh in the end. But one of the things I wanted to do here real quick was actually see if here, that second UV template here. Remember I couldn't work on this because it was all screwed up. I can actually do this now. So let's get Army back on here. I can make it bigger and fit better. Okay. If I use the type tool, there's a thing up here that I can use to make for some cool stuff, and I want to give him about a 3 to 5% arc. Maybe I actually want to arc it down. Maybe I don't want to arc it at all. How's that? Okay. There's other things I could put, like maybe some stripes on his shoulder. I'm going to save the space for that. But really all I need to do is, if I click this and go to my channels, actually let's not do that. Let's just make a new layer and fill it with black. I'm going to hit D and then Alt backspace. I'm going to control click that, and I'm going to go to my red channel, and I'm just going to fill that. Okay, and that's all I'm going to do for this texture for now, and these other channels I can use for other things if I really want to. So what I'm going to do is see where did I put that other one? Content characters, recruit. I don't think I saved that in a good spot, but we're just going to call this recruit shirt logos with an S to signify that later I may want to go and decide to add other stuff like a patch on his shoulder or something like that. I don't need alpha channels because I don't have one. Okay, save. It's 24-bit. Alright, let's go back to UDK. Because if you remember here, if I show UVs, okay, I do have that channel 1 where that's split off, so good for maskings. Okay, let's go and import that. I will get that one, and actually I'm just going to do them individually because recruit diffuse. Let's get a new group here. Just going to keep this basic. It has an alpha channel and it's going to be on default. That will take roughly a minute. I'm going to pause. Alright, that's in. Let's get the normal map. No alpha. Normal map. Hit OK. It's going to take a minute, so I'm going to pause. And I'm going to come back to Photoshop real quick, and I'm going to realize that I'm stupid. I'm going to go to image size. I really do not need a 2048 for that. It's not going to do anybody any good. It's going to be perfectly clean otherwise. So let's just resave that real quick. Okay, then go back to UDK and import that guy. Shirt logos, open. This is going to be default, but no alpha. They all had different settings. Okay. I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to create a new material. I'm just going to call this recruit mat. Yeah, let's call it rat recruit mat. Double click that. It's going to pop open. Control Shift F to come back to my content browser. Let's pop the mesh in, and let's get the other textures in. Okay. We'll throw diffuse on him. There he is with his diffuse. We'll throw the specular on him. Here he is with his specular and his sweat. And then we'll throw the normal on him. And there he is with his normals. And if I rotate the light around him, he looks pretty good. Then let's go ahead and lerp this again. I'm going to need that texture coordinate. Just type COO texture coordinate. I need this mask to be on the second index. And what I'm going to do is choose a color. Let's see. Let's go with like a dark green. Yeah, about darker than that, 0.1. Okay, let's desaturate that a little bit by going 0.05 and 0.05. Actually, let's make that. We'll just give it a little bit of red. I think that looks okay. And then I'm going to use a scalar, which is just a single number, and I'm going to do black. Actually, I don't really need to do that. What I can do, let's see. If I lerp this over my diffuse using the red channel here, I should put Army right on his back, across his right, over that seam. Here we go. You can see a little bit of the cloth texture, very subtle. He's missing his nose and his whiskers, but not that big of a deal. There's not a lot of specular going on in the rest of them. You can see the boots are working and the socks are working and the tail's working. So I think he's coming out alright. He's looking pretty good. I don't really need to do a whole lot more to him than that. I mean, obviously I'm going to need to rig him to my existing skeleton, so he takes on all the animations. I can have him walking around and all that. But really, he's about done, so let's apply that. Save that here, just go to Lit. Let's bring up our content browser, and let's actually grab this material and make sure that shadow casting is on, and apply that. If I just click one of these other things here, there he is, minus the nose and the whiskers, which are just black, remember? Everything else, I think it looks pretty good in this kind of lighting. He looks pretty furry. Some of the brokes were fixed, not all of them. Obviously the back of the legs are still a little low res, but you can't really tell from here. You wouldn't notice it. Belt's nice and shiny. Soles of his shoes are shiny. Got it signed. His eyes are shiny. Look at that glisten. I got a fake glisten in there too, but that's okay. Probably don't need that. You can see he's got these sweat stains. The inside of his shirt's black like that, so it looks like it's, you know, in shadow. Might be a little bold on that, but that's alright. May do like his division or something, you know, whatever his outfit is, and maybe give him a chevron or something on his shoulder on those other logo channels. But there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I did. I love doing this stuff. I find it extremely entertaining, albeit it's kind of extensive in terms of how much work is done, and this is a very minor character that isn't really going to be, you know, a major impact on gameplay or anything. But I think that did a decent enough job on him to actually use him a little bit more. To go further, which we may do, like I said, I may do amend this series with some fixes. Now that I'm looking at it, I think that his shorts probably need some seams, like the boots have, like some stitching and maybe some pockets and a kind of a zipper thing. The shirt could certainly get some stitching going around the top here. I pretty much kind of completely ignored that, but this video series is getting on in time here. It wouldn't take me too long to fix that, so I will leave that for the possible next part if I can get around to it. I am going to be busy for a little while, but yeah, again, if you learned anything from this, or if you have any tips for me that maybe could help me out in my workflow, I would appreciate the comments and the likes, and if you want to subscribe, I'm hoping to do a lot more of these. So yeah, there we go. That's the conclusion of the official part of this character painting tutorial for UDK. Thank you very much.